Far Far West, it takes me back to the Rocket League days, where like the first time I booted up Rocket League, I was just immediately having fun. I was like, I don't care about cars and I don't care about soccer. In the same way that I don't particularly care about shooting skeletons or Wild West games, right? But
it does have instant fun. Just instant, you know?
Yeah, you can just tell it that the game just really wants you to just have a great time. Butterscotch Shenanigans. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 574 of Coffee with Butterscotch, the weekly podcast for indie game developers. I'm Seth, and I'm the games programmer.
I'm Adam, the web developer.
I'm Sam, the artist.
And we are Butterscotch Shenanigans. Today is May 20th, 2020. Quick! We got kind of a grab bag episode today.
Let's go.
So we're going to be talking about our new box art for How Many Dudes, which we talked about last episode. So now we've actually had it up for a while, so we'll talk about what has happened. We want to talk about Far Far West, which we've been playing the shit out of. And then we'll talk a little bit about dog fooding if we've got time. So let's talk about box art. Last episode, we mentioned that we had gotten the How Many Dudes box art updated with art made by our artist Anne, who did all the relic art and stuff, and How Many Dudes. And we talked about the theory behind like how you make it and what it's supposed to do for you, right?
And we also talked about how challenging it is to measure changes, right? Because of, in particular on Steam, there's no A/B testing functionality built in, etc. So if you want all that conversations in the previous episode, but I did do an analysis of it now that it's been out for about 2 weeks. Again, looking at a bunch, if you look at the traffic sources on Steam, you can see these breakdown sections, right? And so the trick is to find some of those breakdown sections where more or less like the fact that the image would be shown there is like in a particular context that's kind of stable over time. So in our case, it'd be like the more like this section, which is actually like, again, it's like a grouping in the Steam traffic sources, the back. Within the more like this section, there's literally more like this and then more like this, which is confusing, but it's because it's like there's different groups of how all these things interact. And that's basically a place where if someone scrolls, to the bottom of a page, they would see additional games listed below. That to me is one of the best places to kind of try and do some of this comparative stuff.
Well, especially because if you're talking about a box art change, right, then like your assumption would be if I change the box art, if somebody is looking for the game on purpose, right, then it doesn't really matter that much what the box art is, probably, as long as it is perceived as reasonable quality and as long as they can tell what it is, because that's not the determination of if the person's going to go click through to go to the next thing, right? So what you're looking for is places where
people
box art's going to get when people are browsing, so that someone sees it unexpectedly and see.
Didn't our click through it go up on search results as well?
It did across the board.
Across the board.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of when I get it, which is then again it's all fuzzy, and this kind of we're getting before because you're not able to fully control context. But again, you could see if I think overall if things seem like they're getting better or worse, you know what I mean, or just kind of a wash. And in this case, as we look through a number of these different sections and kind of average this stuff out, we saw click-through rate improvements of between 13 and 70%, right? Depending on the section.
That's not absolute numbers. That's relative to what
wherever the click-through rate was. Yeah. And again, depending on where those things are, and this is what I think is confusing about like Steam's click-through rate stuff, is that the numbers that like basically the benchmarks that you would want to have are completely different for any one of those little groups. Like the numbers you'd want to have like more like this for your click-through rate are going to be like large amounts different from like
you mean like the base click-through rate, like given the same image in effect, like depending on where you look at it,
depending on which context,
right? Because if it's in search again and someone's looking for your game, that should have an extremely high click-through rate. Right?
Yeah, and so you're not looking at like
this.
That,
it should be low.
Yeah, so you're not looking at that big number that they give you as click-through rate, because that's actually useless instantly because it doesn't account. It basically rolls clicks into like coming from direct sources into the whole thing. So this is also useless number.
A particular challenge on Steam, right? Because it doesn't have A/B testing. That's like so it doesn't have anything built in to do this. But also, unlike all the other platforms, Steam tries to show people games in like every context imaginable on the store, right? And so people who are used to you're used to going on to like the back end of a Google Play or something where you can be like, oh, here's their like kind of funnel. People they see the game, they hit the store, like you can see the
full breakdown, right?
And there's so many fewer ways for people to go through that funnel that even though this stuff is being averaged out, that's actually still informative, right, as you go through, right? On Steam, averaged out conversion numbers from like people seeing the game in some context to go to the page mean fucking nothing. They mean nothing at all because there are so many ways for people to get there. You can't actually interpret it, you know?
Yeah. And so, but we did see, again, like this large increase then, like anywhere from a small increase to a large increase, like 13% to about 75%. And on average, no decreases, which is, I think that to me is the big, definitely good. Because if there's enough wobble there, I feel like you'd see some of that happening. So,
and the biggest increase was on more like this, right? It was like 60%, or maybe one of the bigger ones anyway. It was like
one of the bigger
60%.
ones was on more like this, yes.
Yeah, and that one to me is because again, that's who is the box art for, right? It's for people. It's for you to attract somebody to be like, ooh, what is this, right? Because again, if they already know what it is, doesn't matter what your box art is. So the fact that the more like this bump we got was so huge. I mean, there's very little we've ever done where we could point at it and be like, hey, that increased something good by even 10% is a rare thing we've ever accomplished, right? And so having something that looks like it might be increasing,
again, but possibly by like 50%, right?
Yeah.
And again, what we're talking about is like a 50% increase on something like a 2 or 3% click through, or maybe a 4 or 5% click through, typically, right? In this context or previously. So the important note here is that even though these end up being really small changes from everything we've seen from publisher friends we talked to and stuff, the reality is that like that a couple of these percentage points difference on something like click through and just how many people then view your store page does end up making a much larger, it's like a high leverage thing, right? Where it's like a couple percent points increase in absolute like click through rate in one of these sections can then sort of put you into a higher, flywheel where the game's just being shown way
because the algorithmic stuff is non-linear, right? So so it can accelerate depending on, and of course it's all black box. We don't know how any of it works, but we do know it's non-linear. We don't know if it's threshold based. We don't know if it's velocity. We don't know anything, and it wouldn't matter if we did because it's constantly changing, right? But the point is that when you're asking that question of like, is it worth expending this effort to get like a 5% bump here and a 3% bump there, whatever, the answer is that thing by itself. Who knows, right? But if you can do a bunch of those,
if you can do 10 to 15 different things that all give you a 3 to 5% bump, then you're pretty good.
And like we talked about in the past, it's the same rationale as adding languages to your game, right? Because adding one language, extremely difficult. Adding the next one, no, that's not so bad. Adding the next one, it just keeps getting easier, right? And gives you just a linear cost increase as you do it. But each language, like if you're on Steam and you add Chinese, there's a boost to your audience of like double if you're starting on English, right? So huge relative impact potentially. And then after that, it drops a lot, and then it's like Russian, and then you start going down this list, and now you're talking like you're very quickly into like 4% kind of territory, right? But if you add 5 languages and each one is like 4% of Steam, there's 20% right there, right? So
depending on cost of translation,
depending on cost.
So the interesting thing I think to think about with the box art is it kind of goes back to what we talked about way back in the day when we were first starting working on How Many Dudes, and the idea of the elevator pitch, right? Which is like, what about How Many Dudes has made it so much easier to market the game and talk about the game relative to games that we've worked on in the past, right? And so we've oriented everything in How Many Dudes around, we started with the premise of, let's take a familiar internet debate that people have already somewhere have had in their brain, right? And let's make a game about that. So that way, when we're pitching the game, we're just like, it's a game about how many dudes does it take to beat up a gorilla, right? And people are like, haha, right. So immediately we don't have to explain the genre. We don't have to explain anything. When you think about but all that stuff is on the store page. That's in the description of the store page, right? So that's for people who are already there. The box art is one step further upstream.
Can you convert your idea for a game into a thumbnail?
Because it's literally
with nothing but a title and some art.
Yeah, right? A title and art. So if the title and the art creates it really captures the elevator pitch of like what is this game, and not even necessarily what type of game is it. It's just what's the vibe of this game. What does it feel like to play this game? And so you can kind of see that, like, in this case, we had some box art that like it did it did
It
capture.
was already, the thing is, it was doing well in terms of like what those relative rates were, right? It's just like one of my primary fears, honestly, going to launch without additional new box art was just this question of like how much we're leaving on the table by not having like a more polished illustration.
Well, yeah, because that's the other part.
Because
right?
I couldn't do it,
Yeah.
a little rough.
Yeah, well, and so that's the other part of this thing because we're talking like, oh yeah, it's like 1% effect here, 5%, whatever, but nonlinear outcomes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're like the times you're able to measure this stuff are kind of when nothing else is going on, right? So that's why like our traffic right now is pretty low, nothing's going on with how many dudes, right? And as you're doing it, then there's always this question of like, is it worth it, right? But coming into a launch, you want all those percentages to be as high as possible because that's when the algorithmic effects are the strongest, right? And so every little thing that you have done leading up to that, like if you are wait until you do it post-launch, then it's going to make a much smaller difference, right? Because it's all about that's
the window where you're getting a lot of this, like you're getting a lot essentially grace. You know what I mean? Like all of the stuff is designed around pushing new and trending.
It's
things,
like compound
right?
interest, right? Like you want these things really, really build up if you have them in place. But if you don't have them in place yet, then it's
personally very relieved.
Yeah.
Both that it's done
and killed it.
And killed it. I'm sorry. It's so good.
She's such an incredible artist.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Well, speaking of games that attract attention.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Far, Far West. So
let's do a nail it with it though, because we haven't done one of those in a while.
Yeah, so if you're new to the podcast, this is a segment where we look at some game out in the world that's not ours, some other game, and we just put it on a scale of nailed it or whiffed it. And a nailed it is they achieved what they were trying to do, and we can appreciate what they were trying to do. Doesn't mean we like it, but it means that they nailed what they were going for. Whiffed it means they didn't even accomplish what they were going for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most things historically have landed on either one of those. Though I think the last one we talked about, I can't remember what it was, actually landed in the middle.
Mutagenics. Mutagenics was one of the weird ones where we were like, nailed it in certain respects, but kind of whiffed it in other ones. Yeah. And so it ended up being like a weird thing. That was honestly one of our highest rated episodes because
it was kind of like a nailed the UI, nailed the concept and the vibe, whiffed the UI and quality of life. Pretty hard. So,
and so extensively that it kind of like averaged out too.
Bent nail. I think that was a bent nail one.
Yeah. And for me, and that's why we talk about nailed and whiffed, because it's like everybody has different preferences, right? And so for me, like I personally don't like interacting with actual pieces of shit. That's just one of the things that I'm not really super keen on.
Weird, whatever.
But that's what Mutagenics is about for some reason. It's about interacting with actual shit, and so it's like they nailed it. Like that's what they were going for, and they delivered.
You can respect it. Yeah,
I can respect it.
You just wish the UX was a little bit easier, so you could interact with it a little better. You know what I mean? Like,
that was my real problem with it. The interacting with actual pieces of shit was just too awkward. You know,
should have been easier.
So let's talk about Far, Far West. So this game, I heard about it I was in the Game Discover Co. newsletter because it sold I think 500,000 copies in its first week. It's in early access. It's made by a team of 8.
It's now sold 1 million units.
It's just going. And so I didn't know anything about it other than it's called Far, Far West, and it sold a bunch of copies. So I popped open the Steam page over the weekend and started watching the trailer, and immediately the vibes are immaculate. So it's like you're playing as robots. You're in the Wild West.
You are cowboys.
You are cowboys, but you are robots, and you are fighting skeletons.
Magic skeletons.
Yeah, and also you can cast spells, and that's it. That's the premise. So it's a 4-player co-op game, but like one of the things that kind of grabbed me too is like I saw that it's 1 to 4 players. So I was like, oh, I could just like pick this up and
play it by yourself. Yeah.
Just try it and play.
And it's PvE.
Yes.
Player versus
there is friendly fire, so there is that.
Yeah. But you don't get anything good for doing it.
And the thing is, like, it's a first-person shooter, and I don't really play first-person shooters. Like, the last first-person shooter I really played would probably be Left 4 Dead 2 in like the early 2010s.
Also a PvE. Depending on how you play it, right? Because you can play as zombies, but for your average experience, the focus is PvE.
Yeah. But something about the Far, Far West trailer kind of hooked me, where I was like, this game just is all about the vibes, where it's like, it doesn't take itself seriously, and
it's
also
campy.
it's campy and it doesn't explain itself, but in a
Doesn't
way
even
that
try.
I can respect, right? Because like you boot up the game, and the first thing that happens is like I'm going to start a new game. You jump in there, your eyes open, you're in a saloon, so you're looking, you're sitting at a table, and your character like finishes their drink, right?
Your robot character.
Your robot drinks a mug of whatever, stands up, cracks its knuckles for some reason.
Robot knuckles.
and the music is like Wild West music, right? And you're in this saloon, and then you can just walk around, and there's like NPCs that you can talk about. So basically, this is the lobby menu. It's a small town with a saloon in it. That's
saloon, like a general store.
Yeah,
the usual Wild West trappings.
Yeah, so like there's like a guy a robot you can talk to upgrade your guns, right? And it's like that could be just this all could just be a menu with buttons. You click like upgrade guns, buy skins or whatever. But
I do think this is an increasingly common practice for like the games that are really popular. Is that you can just hang out in whatever the like Peak has this too, right? I
think it makes a lot of sense in a PvE co-op context.
Yeah.
That's actually exactly because everyone likes to hang out.
Place,
because you're socializing and so and also because then you get really leisurely because having that environment where you're all hanging out and you can go to the gun range and just shoot stuff, and you can make it so that everybody else isn't waiting around in the same way while you're doing stuff. Where if you're playing a game that's all UIs, then you're just like, hey, can you fucking finish getting your stuff sorted out?
Let's go. Yeah. And to me, like this is what MMOs like World of Warcraft have always been really good at, is like there's stuff you can do in the game that's group content that's hard, and you all go there together and do it, right? But then there's no like menu that you're just chilling in when you're not doing that stuff. You're out in the world, and you're just like out doing stuff, and you want to upgrade your armor, you fly to the city, and then you go talk to the person and you upgrade your stuff, right? So a lot of newer indie games are taking that concept of like a world lobby, and like making that into a thing. Obviously it's not expansive. It's not as expansive as like a huge open world. It's more of a constrained space, but it really works.
I think what's interesting though with Far Far West is like if you just describe it, it's essentially nonsense, right? So you're saying, okay, you're robot cowboys in the Wild West, and you're fighting skeletons, going on these little missions, and you can ride horses. There's just like Western themed things. And then, to dive into the details a little bit more, like, it's a shooter. You cast these spells that have some combos. And then when you're out there doing your missions that you choose, there's like a bunch of other random stuff in the world that essentially amount to like WarioWare or Mario Party games.
Like little mini games that you do. Yeah. While getting attacked by skeletons.
Yeah. And to me, it's one of those funny things where you're like, okay, we were talking about this design pivot that we've been undergoing with How Many Dudes first and whatever's next, where it's focused on, again, like readability. Can someone get excited about it? Just sort of at every layer of this, whether it's that thumbnail, whether it's the initial description, can they understand it in a way that could get them hyped about it? And I think what's so funny about something like Far Far West is that you cannot. Like if you describe that on paper, it's like, no, that doesn't. Yeah, it just sounds insane, but it's not like in a way that
you're talking about it. Like I was like, what is their pitch? What is because like the pitch is your Steam short description, right? And their pitch, like this isn't compelling to me at all, right? It's like, yeehaw, cowboys team up in this chaotic 1-4-player co-op shooter, journey to the far far west to blast monsters, sling spells, complete. Like that's doing nothing for me. But I'm looking at the slug right above it, and there's a nuclear explosion going off behind 4 obvious robot characters with giant guns, right? The art assets for this game and like the trailers and stuff really sell it because it's understandable instantly visually, right? But it's not really describable, like you're saying, with like a one-liner that's instantly compelling that I can get, and that feels like it would work and all this kind of stuff.
Well, this is something that I've been thinking a lot about, and I'm not sure if there's like a term for this, but it would be kind of like a game that feels like it has a story retroactively. So like if you're playing Far Far West, you come in and you're like, nobody's giving you quests. So you're not like, oh, the skeletons have taken over the West and we're trying to fight. None of that is explained. You're just
none of it is about what is happening.
Right.
You're doing like random odd jobs and
you're
stuff.
Doing stuff. And like at some point you're doing horse parkour. At another point you're taking a driver's license test for for your
For a
horse.
horse. Yep.
Sometimes you are
Yep.
stuffing dynamite into a missile to launch a nuke, or you are forging stuff and like every single thing that you encounter.
Or you go to a boss fight and you're shooting a ghost saloon.
A ghost saloon
Mhm.
that's flying in the sky.
Yep.
Right. But it's like everything in the game is still cohesive in the universe of the game. And it's interesting and goofy enough that it sort of like backfills the story of the world for the player just by nature of what you're interacting with. So like you're free to sort of, as a player, you're free to sort of invent your own headcanon about like,
What the fuck
what's
is
going on
happening?
here? Like why are these robots here? Why is there like a robot rancher out here in the middle of nowhere with robot cows that have gotten loose? Like there are robot cows that are being
to what end,
ranched.
Yep.
So like there's all these things that you encounter that make it feel like the world that you're in actually does have a big story and a big universe, right? And so the game doesn't need to tell you the story.
Well, I think
You
important
just
actually
in
it can't
you know?
in this particular
Yeah.
case, like because it's
Yeah,
so
there's no comprehensible story.
yeah. There's idea in concept art, which is the rule of cool, right? Which is like
Yeah.
sometimes, and you could kind of put different IPs on the scale, right? How common is it that they're just going to do something because it's cool, as
Yeah.
opposed to because it makes any sense at all, right? It's like, why does it, in this case, why are you a robot cowboy instead of just a cowboy? Well, it's kind of cool. Why is why is there a rancher ranching robot cows? Because it's kind of cool. I don't know. It's just different
But
than
it's also
normal
that
stuff, right?
I think that other part that's essential is the cool to who, right? Because there are so many first person shooters that are like clearly playing by the rule of cool, right? Like, oh, look at these giant guns or whatever, right? But who is it cool for, right? Because it isn't universal the case that just like a giant gun is just always cool, right? It's always like, okay, you got to get the context of what's going on. And I think this is good because like I'm not compelled by like Western themes normally in games,
Yeah.
right? Or in any media really. But some of my favorite pieces of media happen to be in Western settings, right? And so like that as a setting isn't compelling to me, right? But it can still work in the right context. And I feel like with like the Far Far West, because it doesn't take itself seriously, I don't care about cowboys at all. Robots to me are very fun conceptually, right? Cowboy robots is now just a fun combo where I'm like, what does this mean? Like I don't have any of the. I think it also because this kind of a thing, especially for slapstick comedy, lets you lean all the way into like all of the dumb tropes and stuff about some category, like being a cowboy, right? You can lean all the way into it in a way that you can just fully embrace everything that's absurd. Because like the driver's test that Seth mentioned, where you take a test about driving your horse, and it's just like, what do you do under this? And an insane scenario, and the answer to things like start shooting. I'm a fucking cowboy, So like,
yeah.
and
It's
that
well,
kind of
it's
stuff you
all-
can't do if it's people. Like it doesn't. 'Cause
Honestly,
then
I would say it's actually Far Far West is a Western for the same reason that One Piece is about pirates.
Yeah.
Right? Which is like something being in the Wild West just gives you license to just kind of do stuff, right? Because it's like, it's the
100%.
Wild West. It's wild out there. We don't know what's out there. It's huge. It's expansive.
it could be
giant
robots, could be
spaces.
Yeah,
skeletons.
it's like being on the open ocean, being in the sea like a
Yeah.
pirate, Yeah.
Yeah, because in One Piece they go from island to island, and it's like every island they go to is just a completely new story, a new place, new characters, new crazy creatures and powers.
Yes, it's like being in space.
uh,
It's the same deal again, right? It's like like if you're doing Star Trek, you just get to keep going to new planets. So now you could do whatever you
Yeah.
want because you could throw the last planet away, go to a new one.
yeah.
Rules
So
can be
it's a
whatever
type of setting where everything can fit. Everything can just fit, and it doesn't have to. Nothing stands out as
But I do think,
particularly weird.
To me, it's essentially a cartoon. It's a cartoon shooter, right? And I mean that in the sense of like cartoon being just like a very stylized, like sort of overly enthusiastic. Whatever's happening, is going to be sort of taking up a bunch of notches, to be far away from any kind of real stuff at all. And I think what's interesting about it is, again, like when we're describing it, this is sort of thing where, like, again, genre-wise, you could be like, yeah, I want to play a shooter with some friends. Maybe, maybe that's a thing. But I think more importantly is that to talk about the game is sort of like missing really to me what is probably the most driving piece of it, which is just like if you watch, like I was saying, you watch like the first 20 seconds of the trailer and the vibes are so good that
it just
you're
is
like,
a good time.
yeah, you're like, this clearly looks fun. I mean, there's like
Yeah.
literally there's like a snake jumps in your face and the guy literally backhands it a couple times.
Slap
You know,
the snake.
and then you got you and your buddies riding on a horse by a train. You know, it's like, it's just.
And you don't open doors. You just walk
just
through.
walk through and
burst.
they
They burst out of your
They
way.
swing on their hinges. It's like,
and,
I don't know.
and like once I boot up the game, I could tell it was going to be awesome for one kind of dumb reason, which was like, I walked into town, I started my mission, and then, in the bottom right corner of the screen, they have your hotkeys that show what your commands are, right? So it's like, do this to emote, do this to open the map. And then one of them was like, press X to summon your horse, right? I was like, oh, so I hit it and I have a horse. Like I just have one. I didn't have to grind out XP to get a horse or whatever. And then also like my horse was immediately fast. It was immediately fun to ride,
It's got some turning radius. It's like you got to drive it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then on top of that, like I started the mission and you have this big map and they show you, all right, here's where you're going to be dropped off. Here's where your objective is. And here's where the boss is. And then there's all these other kind of question marks scattered around the map. And I get there and like, there's no timer and I've got a horse and I'm free to just do whatever. Like if I want to beeline to the objective and the boss and be done in 5 minutes, I can do that. But also there's just tons of stuff all over the map that I can, if I want to, I can just go explore it and check out those. So
but
just
that's
right
part
away,
is that social experience again, right? Because it's effectively Helldivers from a gameplay standpoint.
Yes, it's very Helldivers.
It's literally the same. Like you come in together. You choose a planet. You come in together.
Yeah.
You decide what mission you're going to pick out of the thing. You decide a difficulty level. You get in there. There's waypoints. You can go explore. It's literally the same game, right? But Helldivers is like pushing you towards increasing stress, right, as time goes on, right? And so for that, this is all like I loved Helldivers 2 when it came out, but it very quickly got to the point where I was like, oh, this is just too hard and stressful, But this thing, like, it is just more of a social experience because, like you're saying, you can just.
It's just a little more laid back.
you can take
you
2
can just
hours
decide
on your own terms.
or-
You know what I mean?
or 5
Yeah,
minutes.
and stuff. And like if you're hanging out in some spot where you've like cleared a little area, you can just kind of hang out there because things don't.
You cleared it.
Yeah, things don't spawn for no reason. They'll spawn as like part of something going on, like in the game, right? But you can just hang out at a spot and chat for a while. You can do these. You can make your own side quests where they have various like things out in the world for you to go find, to collect, to get some XP, but don't do anything else. And you can just go out and do that without this like added pressure of oh no, we have to win, and like we have to win right now, and oh no, if we don't do it right now, it's gonna keep getting harder.
Again, as far as nailing the vibe, I think Helldivers nails the vibe of being a military force. Who's
Yes,
dealing with
absolutely, yeah.
Stuff, and then I think the Wild West format here is what puts the exploration aspect back into that.
Yeah,
that existing format a little bit with Helldivers, and it just says like, yeah, you're on a mission, you're doing stuff, but it's the Wild West, baby. You're on a horse.
Yeah, go get some
Yeah,
gold,
do whatever
find
you
some
want.
gold. Like there's treasure in those hills,
Exactly.
like get out there, find stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been having an absolute blast playing it.
And I think the final bit, and I think there's the most interesting little design aspect to it to me is how essentially how it's not quite progression, but actually like how roguelike-y the game is within a run. So as you're defeating bosses, you're completing these little objectives, even just opening chests and stuff. You get these jokers, which again is funny. They're called jokers. Like must play Bladro while
They're
they were
just cards. Yeah.
They're just cards. They're called jokers. And you can stack them, so you can collect however many you can collect, and they just kind of keep on adding these funky effects. Everything from stupid shit like now your gun sounds like a chicken when you shoot it, those stuff, to really epic things like getting more dashes or jumps or making your bullets explode.
I like that there's not a double jump joker. There's a +1 jump joker.
Yeah,
because
right?
you can stack them. Yep.
Yeah, and so like in the mission that we were in, I had triple jump, and I had the dwarf joker, which makes you small and also makes you fast, makes you shoot faster, and reduces your gravity. So I was
just floating.
I was just in the air. There would be like a big canyon, and Adam and Sam were like, "Oh God!" And then they're on their horses and they're trying to find a route around it, and I just jumped across.
Yeah.
And also because I used an electricity spell called bowing, which just
launches you again.
makes an
Yeah.
electrical
But I
explosion.
think what's
and
interesting to me
launches
about it,
you,
and we talk about this from the How Many Dudes angle, which is like having those aspects in the game, in the run, means that very cheaply, from a dev perspective, you can both design and sort of like expand the play space that the player is like from day one going to have potential access to. Right. So like from the first run, they can have some ridiculous synergy thing happen. I think my only personal gripe with it is I think they should push it further. Like I want to see more Jokers, and I want to be able to get more of them, like on my loadout, on my character, whatever else. Because that's, to me, like a big part of what's so fun about these games.
It feels pretty, because you're talking about the ones you can choose. Because
you eventually can progress to choose a few of them basically for your loadout.
I assume
and they're pretty stingy about that.
They're pretty stingy.
Early access. Like there's a ton of shit in this for early access, and it's insanely polished.
Yeah.
I don't think we've really seen any bugs that we could, except for maybe like one part where like the UI kind of lags out.
I've had some frame rate issues on occasion and stuff, but pretty minor.
Yeah. But the amount of content. So kind of to Sam's point, like as you level up your character, you unlock Joker slots that are permanent Jokers that you can
start your missions with,
assemble.
As opposed to only picking ones up on the fly.
And the one thing is like to kind of make they rank the Jokers by quality. So you got your regular Jokers, then they use the normal like the green, blue, purple, orange progression. Which I think that came from WoW back in the day. I don't know if WoW took it from something else, but that's just become like the mainstay of gaming. It's like there's 5 levels of quality, and it goes white, green, blue, purple, orange, and that's how it works, right? But each Joker, depending on the quality, takes up more slots.
Yeah, and you slowly unlock the slots with your leveling up. And I think I could see what they're trying to write, like what the challenge is, which is basically they're trying to balance for the end game.
Yeah, they need to give you stuff. It has to feel like stuff continues to unfold, right?
Yeah, but the challenge, I think, is that like it's more fun to have more of those things that you could slot together, right? If you can only put 2 fucking Jokers, 2 different like types of these things together because you only have a couple slots, even at the end of the game, at the best, you're going to be able to load out maybe 3 or 4 legendary Jokers.
But the thing is, like, it's an easy system to expand, as I can see what they're doing, right? Because it's like just add more levels to your character and add more Joker slots, and then you can just do it, right? So so I see a lot of potential for this game.
Yeah, but that design is, I think, really is also just very smart, right? Because it's the same system, the Joker system, right? But they let you use it instantly by having random Jokers dropping during a match, right?
So you could try them out.
Find the ones that
and
are
also
fun.
So that you could power scale in a fun, crazy way inside of the match, right?
Yeah, and just experience weird locked out stuff.
Yeah.
And also it allows you to play the same map or the same like challenge
with some variants
multiple times because there's enough interesting stuff. Because there's not a lot. I don't know. It's hard to say. There's a lot in the game, but also not a lot. You know what I mean? Like it's just there's not that much.
Yeah.
In there.
That's what I'm trying to get from the synergies perspective. That I feel like the Jokers, and I know it's just it's early access, so this isn't like a real gripe at this point. It's just that I would like to have enough variance within the different like Joker quality levels so that I could do meaningfully different things, which I feel like you can't quite do right now. You could do a little bit of, like I was saying with the kid, if you get like super floaty, you could go like ultra floaty, and now you're kind of flying around if you stack a couple things together. But there's not like a lot of those kinds of things.
I think that's part of the challenge they have with
like paradigms,
with the other decision they made about the unlock progress rate. Because you go into a match, you can just find Jokers and have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
But your weapons and your spells, right, are what they are when you start. Right, you have exactly one weapon you can use when you start, and it's a pain in the ass to unlock the next one because you got to get these fragments and whatever. And so, in terms of like things that have a dramatic impact on your experience, so like what it means to play the game, it's your weapons, your spells, and your Jokers. You have instant access to Jokers. For spells, you can at least pick from like the categories.
You have access to all
so
types
you can,
of them
for the first level of them, but like the next levels are dramatically different of like a kind of experience, right? So you have some like things you can do there to kind of like vary what your experience is, and therefore what Jokers can interact with.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the Jokers have to do with like traversing the world and shooting stuff, right? And so the fact that you get one gun for the first like 2 hours, basically, of like gameplay, like it's not an interesting decision to each time you're like, should I have more ammo, or should I Should I
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah, I think.
but
I think
as
if
soon
they
as you
had-
come in and like now I've got the sniper rifle, and now all of a sudden some jokers that were like obvious wins previously are like, this is questionable, and the ones that were obvious losses previously are now, this actually is probably good, right? And so that there's a challenge here that there's no way to thread this needle perfectly, right?
Oh,
Like,
no.
right? But I think they, all things considered, given what the decisions that they have made, it does work really well
It's very
collectively. But we can see those points where like I can see why this doesn't quite hit. But we can also see how they can.
You could easily lean into it.
Yeah, you
with
can easily
future
lean
diff.
into it, and I think
It's
the
a hell
Joker
of an
system is
opener,
the smart
frankly.
one.
Frankly, on the early access, like a great opener.
Yeah.
Incredibly polished, really, really fun, and I mean,
No,
huge
it-
congrats to them, obviously, because it's a million copies.
it blows a lot of huge budget games out of the water as far as I'm concerned, in terms of just like the thoughtfulness of the design, the polish, the optimization behind it. Like it runs
It
great.
runs really well. Yeah.
I mean everything about it is just really, really good. So
Yeah.
to me, nailed it 100%.
Oh, nailed it.
Yeah,
100%,
well,
definitely.
No doubt.
Yeah,
So
I'm curious what it turns into over the coming year.
I just really hope they lean into more of the synergies and stuff,
Yeah.
like letting
'Cause it is-
you have a little more tools to play with there, because that's where I think it's gonna explode.
But there's also
I know
where we talked too about how once a game is out and you're starting to get feedback, then it's a blessing and a curse, right? Because now you've got real players and you can see what they're actually experiencing and you can respond to that in ways that like the community likes, right? But that also can let you solidify the community into its most active, intense participants, which is like that's what I've experienced with almost every shooter of any kind, really. But like all these like co-op shooters, right? Is they keep getting more complicated as updates come out, and they keep trying to expand the end game, and so everything kind of like gets dragged towards taking it really seriously and playing it a lot, and I think one of the reasons I still like Left 4 Dead so much is because the game was what it was, perfectly designed. And they were like, "Yeah, we did it perfectly."
Well, it didn't have meta progression.
There's no
right? Like,
progression.
There's no progression,
you
so
just
they
play
didn't
it,
have to
you
deal
know?
with that, right? Yeah. And the challenge of meta progression is that that adds a lot to a gameplay experience. It adds a lot of replayability and stuff, but it also kind of, if you're going to be, it makes you feel like you have to put out more updates to add more, right? And as you do that, you're dragging stuff towards the tail of the gameplay experience. And so it's my only worry with this thing is right now, that's beautiful. If they left it exactly like this, it'd be perfect.
Oh, but what's fascinating though is like with a multiplayer game, even if the game doesn't change, the experience of playing it will become increasingly negative over time as the min-maxers take over. It's like I think one of the more fascinating examples of this is the classic WoW re-release, right? So I think it was like 2020-ish or something, 2019, where Blizzard re-released the original version of World of Warcraft, unchanged, right? So they tried to replicate it exactly as it was back then, including weird stuff like the fact that the server processed spells in like a certain tick rate, which no longer apply. Like they recreated everything. And the issue is like back in the day, everything was new. And so when people played vanilla WoW back then everything was new. You didn't know anything. You didn't know what the best characters were to play or the best items or the best spells or how to, even where stuff was in the world.
Yeah, well, back then you played it for the first time. Now you're playing it for the whatever.
Yeah. And so what ended up happening then was like in the re-release. So again, the game didn't change. It's exactly the same game. But everybody comes in now with the benefit of 20 years of YouTube and guides and
also just the
whatever
UX improvements, frankly, like just the base UX improvements of
add-ons.
Exactly.
And so what ended up happening was people immediately developed a meta of like, all right, we know that this class is garbage, so if you play that, we're not even going to invite you to groups. And also, like, the fastest way to get XP is like 4 mages and a paladin, and then you grind out this one spot. And if you're not doing that, then you're
wasting your time.
Yeah, then you're wasting. And so, or even stuff like there were these like buffs that you could get that if you died, you would lose them. And there were so many of them that you could stack them like crazy, and then you could go to the raids and just absolutely destroy raid bosses. But back in the day, people didn't really make that connection or care that much, you know. But then the mod, like the re-release, the expectation for players was like, okay, before the raid, you got to spend 2 hours going out and doing all these different things to get all these buffs. So that people
just
just
to work, man. You know?
people just completely ruined the game for themselves by sort of like meta gaming and min-maxing every single aspect of it.
I think that's what's interesting to me is that I think some game experiences resist ruin, and I think a lot of the times it comes down to how like exploration focused they are in terms of mechanically. And how much of this like stupid synergy stuff they have. That's why personally, my design direction for them would be to lean as hard as possible into the jokers and be more freeform with those, so that players can have more open questions about like, there cannot possibly be one best build. You know what I mean? There cannot possibly be one thing to optimize.
But even if there is, the gap shouldn't feel big, right? Because I think to me, like that's the thing is like if you have a particular, because like if I can get a sniper rifle in a shooter game, that's what I'm doing. Like, and I'll do it even if the game really like that's not what it's for, you know. And I think Far West is a good example of that, where you know when you're being attacked by hordes of things most of the time, like a sniper rifle is challenging, you know. But that's how I want to play, so that's how I'm going to play. And if that means that when I'm playing with Sam and Seth, that I'm not that helpful in certain circumstances, you know, but I can like really rapidly help take down a boss. Which only happens once in a fight, right?
But it's important to do.
Yep, it's important to do. And there's like there are moments where having the sniper rifle for the team very handy. But on the whole, if I was just like dumping lead, you know, then it would probably be better for the team. I'd probably be getting XP faster because like I'm killing so few enemies, you know, right? But like that's how I want to play, and the game currently lets me just be like, cool, I just unlocked the sniper rifle, right? It's not upgraded. I just unlocked it, and I can hop into a game.
Well, again,
we're all at disparate levels doing
because
stuff.
There's some of those interesting jokers that you can choose, right? Between
and those modifiers.
That's what I mean. Yeah, which is like leaning into that aspect of it, so that if you want to try doing some weird thing, or just something that the game like allows for, but may not necessarily be built to like fully accommodate, like sniping from distance all the time, that there's enough stuff going on that you can be like, how do I?
Yeah, well, because I can also see because the first upgrades I unlocked and like are the first gun, because there are gun jokers too, right? So like the first gun jokers I got were ones that increased my firing speed, right? Because like and I was looking, I'm like I bet I can get this thing to be pretty, because it hits really hard.
What about a semi-automatic sniper rifle? That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, like, can I get it closer to that? And it looks like there's already room for me to like work towards that, right? Yeah. But if we keep on playing and I get like fully decked out, and then we bring on somebody new who hasn't played yet. Right. And now I'm over here with my souped up sniper rifle. Right. And they're over here with their base layout. It should feel to them like they're contributing and they're having a good time.
Yeah, that's the trick. Yeah.
And that was the part where, like, for me, like, that's where Helldivers 2 eventually fell apart. Right. Because the gap between like a veteran player and an early player or a player like me who like doesn't really, I'm just doing it because it's fun. I'm not trying to do it for a job. You know? Yeah. So that the gap between those is so wide. It's so wide that I might as well have not been playing, you know, because like the challenge level had to be really high for your players to do anything.
I see.
I couldn't accomplish anything, even if we like to agree to do a lower level thing. Like now they're even more powerful, so they're just like destroying everything. They're dropping nukes from the sky.
You're being carried. Basically, you don't want to be carried.
Yeah. You want to be able to feel like, even if you're bad at the game, even
like
if you
got some
role,
much, you know,
that you can do something and have a good time. And I think games that try to level that out are the ones that, just personally, like I can then enjoy kind of forever, because it also means there's no point. Like
it's not about the right way. It's all style, baby.
Yeah,
you know?
It's all about style, and so there's no point in somebody coming in and being like, okay, here's the right way to do this, blah blah. It's like, because you can just say, who gives a shit, you know? You can just not do it.
I mean, for me, like the spells that the spells and the weapons I chose, I was like, all right, shotgun. I always loved a shotgun.
Yeah, super fun.
Kind of all of us, our archetypes are completely different, which is very funny because
Sam likes being just like planting in place and just spraying bullets nonstop.
Spraying lead.
Yeah, so Sam's like a minigun kind of guy. I like the shotgun because I like to be super mobile, but like be right up in the action and just blasting shit. And so I take a shotgun, and then the spells that I'm taking are mobility spells. So like one of mine is I use like a swap spell where I target an enemy, I hit the button, and then it makes an electrical explosion at my location and their location, and then we trade places, right? So I'm just looking at this as like, all right, this is a way for me to A, make an explosion in a group of enemies, and B, suddenly get in there and just start shotgunning
with a shotgun,
things, right?
Yep, perfect.
Which is great. And I don't know if it's good.
Yeah,
but it's fun.
It's fun.
That's the thing.
And
I think it's a style. You know,
yeah,
it's all
and so,
style.
like, so at the end of
and
the
actually that part right there is like it only being about, are you having fun? And that's it, right? As I think that's that key,
can you
right?
maintain that as the game?
Yeah, can you
goes through
just
it?
have fun no matter how much you play the game, no matter who's playing, no matter, you know, like, can you just have a really good time doing it kind of how you want? And that doesn't mean that you won't still find things like, oh, it would be nice if I did this, and like, ooh, I'm going to grab this thing because it'll make my build.
Yeah.
But, you know, like,
I do think
that's
this is
all
where
still there.
this is the one difference to me from Helldivers that's important, which is the pressure one, because the pressure makes it so that you kind of you do want to optimize a bit more, right, during like a Helldivers match.
Because Helldivers is timed, right? Like you have to complete.
It's more like
timed,
there's like you'll just get hit by there'll be swarms that'll just come up on you and like all sorts of, you know, you're kind of, there's a lot of pressure, and so
I wasn't. We haven't done like the highest difficulty levels in Far Far West, so maybe
Yeah, it might turn into
those-
that.
Maybe it turns into that.
it does get more stressful. I don't know if there's time aspects involved or like you're suddenly beset.
God, I hope
by
they don't
things.
have time. Yeah.
But I mean, maybe they do. I don't know. I think it's like we
so
played
far
this-
we've done up to hard, and I think it goes like hard, then very hard, and then nightmare or something.
Yeah.
So
I think like
like,
hard was just more
keep adding
interesting
more to
because there was like other random shit happening now. You know what I mean? Like, but we could kind of avoid all of it to a degree, like if we wanted to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's
But
more
again,
stuff to shoot.
even if
which is
you
fun.
didn't avoid it, it was also the case that there weren't. You could still, again, you could hang out in a spot.
Yeah.
You could go do
You
your
park
side
for a
missions
minute.
without worrying
Yep,
about it. You're always deciding, like, are we hanging out? Right? Because like, to me, again, that's a lot of it. Like when you're playing Helldivers 2, it's like we're not really hanging out. You know,
No, we gotta go.
we're trying to accomplish a mission. You know.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the biggest thing about any of these games that I really, really like and can just like play at any time. Because like Left 4 Dead, yeah, if you just do hang out and like don't
You die.
move, then eventually stuff comes and gets you, right? But you have these like you have these moments of breathing in between things, right?
Mhm.
And also the design of like something like Left 4 Dead is different. It's designed in a way that like makes you want to keep propelling forward, right? It more just like so happens that stuff will keep coming if you don't keep moving. But the design of the game pulls you through.
I think
Anyway.
the shapes are different. You know, it's like
The
that
shapes are
one's
different, yeah.
that one's just that's about hitting the breathing spot of the safe space. You know, the safer in between any given mission or whatever else. But like,
yeah, and they're also pretty close, right? So that's the fun part is like you get together, you make it to the thing, and then you take a breath, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
fun.
Yes, I think overall, I mean, for me, it was like Far Far West. It takes me back to the Rocket League days, where like the first time I booted up Rocket League, I was just immediately having fun. I was like,
Yep.
I don't care
Yep.
about cars and I don't care about soccer.
Yep.
In the same way that I don't particularly care about shooting skeletons or Wild West
Yep.
games, right? But
It does have instant fun, just instant. You know.
yeah, you can just tell it that the game just really wants you to just have a great time,
Mhm.
you know, and you can feel that when as soon as you go in, and it's just a blast right away. So definitely recommend checking that out. And I know it's a nailed it, whiffed it, so nailed it, but still, I actually recommend. Like I'm going to say, just go play it. It's super
nailed
fun.
it from did they accomplish what they were trying to do?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But also from my own personal rating, 100 out of 10.
I think it'll
excellent.
be our brotherly gaming night game for a good
for
while,
quite-
I
for
think.
quite some
Yeah.
time, yeah.
Yep.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for this week's episode. We'd like to thank our producers, Fat Bard and Sampa Acosta, for putting the podcast together, and thanks to our community moderators who keep our Discord running. To get more involved in the Butterscotch community, just go to podcast.bscotch.net, where we have links to the Discord, a way for you to donate to support the podcast, and links to the podcast archives. And if you haven't yet, head on over to Steam, pick up the demo for How Many Dudes, get familiar with it, because we're going to change everything on July 30th when we launch the full game. So have fun. We appreciate it. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.